Welcome to Learn English. Don't forget to like and subscribe. My office had given me a 1-month holiday and I was returning to my hometown to visit my mother. This time my mother was unusually excited about my arrival, which I found strange. I thought she might have missed me a lot. At 8 o'clock I finally departed from the station and went straight to my home. The door opened and behind it stood my lovely mother. "Oh, my dear son, finally you are back home," she said with tears in her eyes. I hugged her when I saw her emotional face. We went to the living room and I sat on the sofa. I was tired from my long journey. "Mom, please bring me a glass of water," I said. But she didn't bring it. Instead, she sat beside me and gave me a weird smile. "Your water is coming," she said, still smiling. Then a beautiful young lady, around 22 years old, entered the room. She brought the glass of water and gave it to me. She seemed quite nervous and shy, and I could feel that she was uncomfortable. I took the glass and said thank you. My mother's eyes shone when she saw her, and then she said, "So, Peter, meet Lucy, our new house helper." "Oh, okay, welcome, Lucy," I said to her, smiling. "Thank you, sir," she replied. Suddenly my mother screamed. "Oh, no, don't call him sir. He has a nice name, Peter. Just call him Peter and I will be very happy." "Yes, please call me Peter," I said again, smiling. Then we went to the dining table and had our dinner. Lucy went to the kitchen for some work and my mother whispered to me, "Lucy is going to stay with us. Poor girl lost her parents last week. And there was no one to look after her. The poor child didn't even have a house to live in because they were living on rent. So I decided to help her in my own way. I was already looking for a maid." "Oh, my dear mother, you did the best, but you know her well, right? You know how youngsters are nowadays, and having a complete stranger in our house." "No, she is not a stranger. I know her family well," said my mother. After our conversation ended, I went to bed. The next morning, I got dressed and went to the breakfast table. Lucy and my mom had prepared my favorite breakfast. My mother sat down with me, but Lucy stood nearby, looking shy. "Come, Lucy, let's have breakfast together," said my mother. "Yes, join us, Lucy," I added. She sat down beside me, and for the first time I looked at her closely. She had blue eyes, just like mine. I felt a bond with her. I was thinking about going to the market to buy some clothes for Lucy. "But you know, Peter, I am really tired today. Can you go with Lucy?" my mother asked. "Yes, I can go with Lucy," I said hesitantly. "Oh, lovely. You both can spend some time with each other," my mother replied happily. I didn't understand why my mother wanted me to spend time with Lucy. I suspected her intentions. We headed to the market. Lucy bought some dresses, and I even helped her select a few. I noticed that we had a lot of similarities. Later we went to a coffee shop and talked a lot. She told me about her life and I told her about mine. I felt really happy talking to her. At around 6 p.m., we returned home. I thought my mother would be angry that we spent so much time together, but instead she was very happy. She even suggested that I take Lucy to the park the next day. I was surprised. There was definitely something on my mother's mind. Before dinner, I talked to my mother. "Mom, can you please explain what you want? I have noticed you've been acting weird these days. Why do you want me to spend time with Lucy? What is going on in your mind?" I asked. "I know what you're thinking, Peter. But believe me, I really love Lucy and I don't want to treat her like a maid. I just want her to feel like she's part of our family," replied my mother. I didn't say anything after that. It was clear that my mother wanted to make Lucy a part of our family, and the only way that could happen was if she became my wife. Lucy prepared my favorite cake to thank me after we had it. We went to the terrace where we shared a special moment. We laughed and talked, and for a moment our eyes met in silence. She looked beautiful in the moonlight. I held her hand and she smiled at me. What a beautiful night it was. I went to bed, but I couldn't sleep. I was just thinking about Lucy from the very first day. I had felt a special bond with her, and now I knew that I was in love. I needed to tell my mother and Lucy. My mother would be very happy because this is what she had wanted all along. I decided I would propose to Lucy the next night. Early the next morning, I went to buy a ring for Lucy. I made some arrangements in the backyard, decorating it with lights and flowers. My mother had no idea I was going to propose to Lucy. I thought I would tell her later. At night I took Lucy to the backyard. Then I bent down on my knees, took out the ring, and proposed to her. She was overjoyed and had tears in her eyes. Then she screamed. Yes, yes, yes. Hearing her voice, my mother came into the yard. She saw the ring in my hand and Lucy in front of me. I was just putting the ring on Lucy's finger when my mother shouted. What is all this? What are you doing, Peter? I laughed and replied. I am going to marry Lucy, my first love. And this is what you wanted me to do. Believe me, Mother, I am the happiest man today. What nonsense. You can't marry her. Are you both out of your senses? My mother shouted, and then she fainted. I couldn't understand anything. Lucy and I were totally shocked. I called the doctor immediately. After the checkup, the doctor told me that my mother had a panic attack. He suggested that I should not give her any kind of stress. When my mother regained consciousness, I went into her room. Lucy was very afraid, so she didn't come with me. Mom, are you feeling better now? I asked. Yes, my son, she replied. Then I asked her why she had reacted that way. She was the one who wanted me and Lucy to get closer, and now her reaction was very strange. Look, Peter, I know that I asked you to be with Lucy, but I never wanted you to marry her, and I will never give you permission for that. Forget all your feelings for Lucy, said my mother. No, not at all. I love Lucy with all my heart. She is my first love and she loves me too. You also liked her so much. So why are you against this? Please, Mom, understand me, I said. She didn't reply and closed her eyes to sleep. The next day, when I returned from the market, I saw some guests in the house. A young, pretty woman and an older lady were sitting with my mother. I greeted them and sat beside my mother. Then my mother said to me, Look, this is my friend's daughter, Alex. Isn't she beautiful? I have selected her to be my daughter-in-law. What? I shouted. No, this can't happen. Then I turned toward the ladies and asked them to leave the house immediately. My mother was very angry at me for disrespecting the guests. How could you even think of marrying me to someone else? You know I love Lucy, I said. But I have already told you that you can't love Lucy, replied my mother. But why? Please give me a reason. Can't you see the pain in my eyes? I spoke. I cannot give you a reason now. It's not possible, my mother replied. You have to give me a reason or I will take Lucy and get married without you, I said angrily. My mother started to cry. Then she said, Peter, my son, I love you so much. I cannot lose you. I don't want you to hate me. If you want to know the reason, then wait for my death. I was so angry at that time that I said something terrible. Then die, Mom. I still regret saying that to my mother. After that day, I stopped talking to her. She grew weaker day by day and was always sick. Months passed and my mom married Lucy to someone else. I tried to stop the wedding, but after seeing my mother's condition, Lucy just wanted to leave the house, so she got married. My mother used to cry every day. The doctor said that she had only a few days left. One day, as I was returning home, I saw a few people gathered outside my house. I was afraid. One man came forward and told me that my mother had died. I rushed inside the house to see her. I felt as if I had lost everything. It was the worst day of my life. The day after my mother's death, I went into her room and found the letter. It was written by my mother. I started to read it. Peter, I know you hate me, but I couldn't tell you the truth because if you knew, you would hate me even more. I didn't hate Lucy, in fact, I loved her. She was like my daughter. And I wanted you to treat her like a sister, not a lover. But it's time for you to know the truth, and I request that you don't hate me after reading this letter. I was against your marriage with Lucy because she is your real sister. You have a blood relation with her. I adopted you from a very poor family. I am not your real mother, but believe me, I have loved you like my own child. When Lucy's parents died, I decided to take her in, but it was a wrong decision. Whatever happened is my fault. I am sorry, my son. Please forgive your mother. Don't hate me because I will continue to love you even after I die. When I read this letter, I couldn't believe it. What do I do? What is my mistake?